Studio 31.
WOAY-TV, Oak Hill, Beckley, Bluefield.
Happy Friday, Southern West Virginia. Coming up tonight, reaction pouring in from the first primetime public hearing of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack. A recap of the findings coming up. And major news for international travel, updated guidelines for flights. The details ahead. And Governor Jim Justice signs a law barring abortion because of a disability and why it was one of the more controversial bills of this year's legislative session. And various leaders and supporters celebrating a huge milestone in McDowell County today will tell you what all the cheers are about.
Live from the WOAY studios, this is NewsWatch at 11.
Hello and welcome to NewsWatch at 11:35. I'm GeNienne Samuels. Thanks so much for closing out your evening with us. And it has been an exciting one so far, especially if you were watching Game 4 of the NBA Finals. The Warriors were able to even it out at 2 games apiece with a 107-97 win over the Celtics. And now we're going to go from the basketball court to the WOAY Weather Center with Jacob. Is the weather just as exciting as that game, Jacob?
Well, if rain excites you, then you are in for a treat, but it looks to be fairly light tonight. Just a gloomy end to our work week with showers north of 64 mainly. Nothing super high impact, but temperatures cool out there. Upper 50s, 60 degrees, probably won't fall too much more tonight. It looks like we could have some more showers to start the day on Saturday, but some sun will sneak in through the weekend. I'll have a look at the full forecast in just a few. GeNienne.
Thank you, Jacob. Now to Washington, D.C., where reaction is pouring in from the first primetime public hearing of the White House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack. The panel of 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans revealing some of their findings as they attempt to make the case that former President Donald Trump was directly responsible for the deadly insurrection. Jay O'Brien has more from Washington.
In the first televised hearing laying out their findings, the House Select Committee investigating January 6th, arguing former President Donald Trump was at the center of a well-organized conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. Starting with Trump's repeated false claims of election fraud, which the committee alleges culminated in the deadly Capitol riot.
Over multiple months, Donald Trump oversaw and coordinated a sophisticated 7-part plan to overturn the presidential election and prevent the transfer of presidential power.
The committee playing footage of a rioter reading a tweet from President Trump criticizing Vice President Pence for refusing to block Joe Biden's Electoral College victory. Shortly after, the mob began chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," which the committee says showed Trump's powerful influence over his supporters. Also in the hearing, new testimony from Caroline Edwards, a Capitol Police officer knocked unconscious after trying to hold the line against rioters.
It was carnage. It was chaos. I can't even describe what I saw.
The committee arguing far-right groups like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys planned the insurrection for weeks and were among the first to breach the Capitol's perimeter. Nick Quested, a documentary filmmaker embedded with the Proud Boys, testifying he saw members of that group start to move toward the Capitol even before Trump began speaking at his Stop the Steal rally.
We're not a criminal committee. Our main purpose is to show the American people a transfer of power cannot happen like this ever again.
The committee's next public hearing is Monday. Then they're expected to lay out more of their case that President Trump and his advisors knew he'd lost the election but continued to spread false claims that it was stolen from him. Jay O'Brien, ABC News, Washington.
A Charleston man is sentenced to 25 years in prison, followed by supervised release for the rest of his life for producing child pornography. According to statements made in court, 51-year-old Brian Schaefer admitted that he used his cell phone to take inappropriate pictures of a female minor with whom he was living with in August of 2021. He also uploaded the nude photo and sent it to another individual. Schaefer was previously convicted of first-degree sexual assault of another female minor in Kanawha County Circuit Court in March of 2001. Schaefer will also be registered as a sex offender. And 2 men are sentenced sentenced to prison in connection with damage to an energy facility. 53-year-old Ricky Sprouse of Raleigh County and 55-year-old Stuart Dotson of Fayette County were sentenced to 9 months in prison and 1 year in prison, respectively, for the destruction of an energy facility located across Boone and Lincoln counties. According to court documents, both men admitted to working with others to steal multiple pieces of specialized mining equipment in 2019. These thefts forced the mine to shut down for 2 weeks and also resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage. Meanwhile, a Nicholas County man pleads guilty to a federal gun crime, specifically being in possession of multiple firearms when previously convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence in Ohio in 1998 and again in 2002. 55-year-old Keith Neuter of Summersville admitted to having the firearms upon a search of his residence in July of 2019. Neuter is scheduled to be sentenced on September the 15th of this year and faces a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a $250,000 fine. And there's major news for international travel. Sources telling ABC News the White House will lift the requirement that travelers test negative for COVID before boarding a plane to the United States. The airline's welcoming the move, of course, just as the summer travel season kicks into high gear. Here's ABC's transportation correspondent, Gio Benitez.
Just as the nation prepares for record-breaking summer travel, tonight, a major change for those flying into the country. Sources telling ABC News the Biden administration will end the requirement for a negative COVID test before entering the United States. Starting Sunday morning, just after midnight, anyone would be able to fly into the U.S. without that negative test. The decision comes as the U.S. is averaging nearly 110,000 new cases a day, back up to one of its highest points since February. More than 4,100 are hospitalized with COVID each day. But with higher vaccination rates and less severe cases, the airline industry has lobbied to lift the requirement that has been in place for the last 17 months. Tonight, the major U.S. airlines applauding the decision, United saying in a statement, "This is another important step, not just for air travel, but also for all the tourism jobs that international travel supports." JetBlue's president telling us this will almost certainly boost summer travel.
A lot of people didn't want to travel internationally because of the testing requirement. This provides them with peace of mind so that they know when they're traveling they can make it home.
And we're told the CDC would reassess the decision in 90 days and non-U.S. citizens would still have to show proof of vaccination. Gio Benitez, ABC News, New York.
And with kids being out and about more than ever over the summer months, there has been much speculation regarding the risk of transmitting COVID in kids versus adults. Turns out there's no difference between the age groups. With more, here's Faith Abubey.
At the height of the COVID pandemic, debates about returning to in-person school and in-person work revolved around the potential risk of COVID transmission in kids versus adults. And now findings from a study published in Pediatrics show that kids are in fact just as likely to transmit and catch COVID as adults. Researchers looked at data from households in Tennessee and Wisconsin from 2020 to 2021 and found that risk of spread from one family member to another was similar between adults and kids. However, one difference was noticeable when looking at the primary COVID case in the house. It seems that the highest risk of transmission was when the primary COVID case was in an individual older than 65 or between the ages of 5 and 11. And the lowest risk of transmission was when the primary COVID case was in someone between 12 and 17 years old. This could be for a variety of reasons that need to be explored in further studies. Of note, the authors of the study did clarify that results may be different if looking at a more diverse population or more crowded households. It is evident that more research is needed in this area, especially as the study predated the Delta and Omicron variants that more recently affected the U.S. With this Medical Minute, I'm Faith Abubey.
And let's take a look at COVID-19 cases in West Virginia. There are currently 518 new cases with a total of 2,198 active cases. 208 people are hospitalized, up from 188 just yesterday. There has been one new death, totaling 6,999 people losing their fight against the virus. 54.7% of West Virginians are fully vaccinated. And the law barring abortions because of disability goes into effect today. Parents are now prohibited from seeking pregnancy termination because they believe their child will be born with a disability. Governor Jim Justice signed this law earlier this year in March in celebration of World Down Syndrome Day. Justice says the bill gives, quote, deserved respect to our Down syndrome community. It was one of the more controversial bills passed during the 2022 legislative session. Its supporters say it will aid in protecting people with disabilities. Opponents feel the proposal was just another tool to further limit abortion in West Virginia. $700,000 being allocated to improve access to healthy foods for West Virginians, announced today by Senators Joe Manchin and Shelley Moore Capito. The funds will be used to develop food systems that support West Virginia. 5 organizations were awarded grants in our viewing area. There were 3, and they included the Wild Ramp Food Delivery program in Huntington, a market in Bluefield, and in Talcott, upscaling retail sales for food access. Manchin also announces $400,000 to go to Facing Hunger Food Bank in Huntington and the Mountaineer Food Bank in Gasaway. Manchin says that addressing food scarcity in West Virginia continues to be one of his top priorities, and he is pleased the Department of Agriculture continues to support local food organizations. And various leaders and supporters celebrated a huge milestone in McDowell County today, one that brings them even closer to fulfilling the ultimate goal of attracting more teachers and other professionals to the area. NewsWatch reporter Katherine Skeldon has more on the story.
There is a community not so far from here where they greet each other with a question. And that question simply is, how are the children?
The Renaissance Village officially opened up its doors in Welch Friday. Leaders and supporters of reconnecting McDowell, including Governor Jim Justice, came out to hold a dedication and a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the new housing development. Senator Joe Manchin also came out to support the endeavor and to share a few words on its behalf. It's the organization's several-year project aimed at revitalizing the impoverished county.
This is a county that's given so much to our country, not just the state of West Virginia, but when you think what McDowell County has done for the United States of America, producing the energy that helped us win both wars, World War I and World War II, that built the industrial might of our country.
The county has been caught in the grips of a severe teacher shortage, and the new apartment complex was built with the goal of attracting them to the area, among other working professionals. In addition, the county was extremely lacking the availability of modern housing. Project manager Leah Daughtry believes the 20-unit complex will now be helping to resolve the long-time issues.
We understood, listening to the residents here, that part of the problem was the lack of accessible, modern housing. And so we said, let's build some housing.
The first new multi-story building McDowell has seen in over 50 years. The former West Virginia First Lady, Gail Manchin, was responsible for the positive undertaking, along with the American Federation of Teachers. They initiated the now 11-year-old Reconnecting McDowell, which currently has around 100 national, state, and local partners working to make the area a better place.
What you see here is that in McDowell, a community that came together with lots of public and private help across ideological lines, trying to help our students have a future.
In McDowell County, Katherine Skeldon, NewsWatch.
As part of AFT's Reading Opens the World project, a book giveaway was also set to be held at the New Village today. They gave away about 40,000 free books to children and their families. And there's more to come on NewsWatch at 11. First, a full look at our weather with Jacob, which will unfortunately be his last first weather with WOAY. And it's almost time to grab your gear because West Virginia free fishing weekend is details coming up.
Stormwatch weather is brought to you by R&R Comfort Systems. Comfort is our name.
Welcome back, and certainly was a cooler day today across the mountains, cooler than we should be. Morning lows were around 50 degrees and the high temperature was 73. Average high temperature is 71 degrees. Still in the 50s out there at this 11 o'clock hour, and likely not going to move much from where we are now. 58 in Union, 58 in Oak Hill, 60 down through the Welch area. We are going to see some scattered showers out there tonight, but nothing of major impact. We'll end up in the 70s tomorrow, and we will see some sun despite it not seeming that way out there right now. Showers generally staying north of 64, and that's generally how it's going to stay. This rain is really not a major system, and we will continue to see this moisture stream on in overnight. We'll make some time for some sun tomorrow. Rain chances are low this weekend during the daytimes, but next week we'll see a pattern change and we could see some pop-up storms. That'll coincide with a more humid air mass. But tonight into tomorrow, sun will clear out from those storms and those showers by the time we hit the afternoon. Tomorrow night we'll see another disturbance passing to our north, and it'll likely stay mostly north of 64 again. We will notice some clouds, some showers, potential thunderstorms into Monday morning. But Monday, we will be very sunny, very dry, and likely turning very hot. So enjoy the temperatures this weekend. We'll start out around 60 degrees tomorrow, 70s through the afternoon, and we'll end up getting to 80 degrees by the time we hit Sunday. We'll continue that warm up into next week, and we'll also add the humidity in there. We have a heat dome building over much of the U.S. into next week, and we could see some of the hottest June temperatures we've seen in potentially years. Above average temperatures over a large portion of the U.S. We also have humid conditions coming our way. This graphic is taking a little bit to load, but just know we're going to end up with dew points in the 70s at times heading into next week. So it is going to be humid out there. It is going to be warm. Temperatures getting well into the 80s, if not the 90s at points next week. And we'll start to see those pop-up storm chances as well. Stick around. We'll have more after the break.
How would you like a dozen donuts from Donut Connection or a box lunch from Honey Baked Ham of Beckley? Every week, WOAY-TV will be giving away donuts or a box lunch valued at $10 to one lucky winner. So go online to WOAY.com and register to win today.
Every weekday, get going with Live.
Welcome back. Governor Jim Justice is telling everybody to grab their gear because West Virginia's free fishing weekend has come back to the shores of our lakes, rivers, and streams yet again. Governor Justice has announced the return of the state's free fishing weekend this Saturday and Sunday, June the 11th and 12th. Residents and non-residents of West Virginia alike will be able to fish in the state free of charge for both days. The event also gives beginners and returners a chance to fish since 4 days of its return. And to help add to the fun of free fishing days, one local state park will be host to a kids fishing derby they've had for over 31 years. Kids 14 and under are invited out to Little Beaver State Park tomorrow for the 31st annual Kids Fishing Derby. Registration for the event will begin at approximately 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, with the derby following immediately after. Kids should bring their own fishing gear, and a limited amount of bait will be provided. Prizes will be given out after the event starting at noon. And coming up after the break, we have sports with Samantha. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Looking for something fun to do? Then don't miss WOAY-TV's One Tank Trip. Follow us around the state to see where we've been, who we've been talking to, and what we've discovered on our One Tank Trip. Tune in every Thursday during NewsWatch at 6 p.m. and Friday at 6 a.m. and noon. You'll never know where we may end up. One Tank Trip, brought to you by Childers Enterprises.
Happy Friday, Southern West Virginia. The Big 12 Conference is getting a little bit bigger. Cincinnati, Central Florida, and Houston have officially agreed to a deal to join the Big 12. They will exit the American Athletic Conference and join this summer. That's in addition to BYU, who has also agreed to join. The news has been expected for months and is no surprise after Texas and Oklahoma announced they will be jumping ship to join the SEC in 2025. Let's head to South Charleston for the North-South All-Star Basketball Classic. Charles up first. Greenbrier East Asia Summers puts up 2 to get the scoring started in this one. Kara Ferguson goes for the long 3 from the left side. North up 17-13 halfway through the second. Few possessions later, Talaya Baxley connects with Hannah Purdue, who knocks down the triple from the left wing. That gives South a 1-point lead. Still second quarter, Skylar Bosley makes the close range basket, but South up 24-20 at the half. Third quarter, Summers sets up Olivia Zolkowski for the bucket inside the paint. The Lady Flying Eagle catching fire in the second half. She escapes defenders to knock in 2 more points. Later, Summers fights off North for the ball, plus the bucket, but North clawing their way back in this game. Caitlin Carson with the reverse to make it 51-50 North. Less than a minute left. Purdue gets the ball. She fakes. Pulls up for 3. Man, the Lady Lions are getting something special with that one. Seconds left on the clock, 59-57. Bosley pass to Haley Smith from the right wing. Dagger. North wins 60-59.
It was great to come out here one last final high school game with a couple of my buddies, and getting MVP was awesome, but I was happy just to be able to be out here and do my thing one more time. Well, I wasn't doing too good there in the first half, but I don't know. I just keep shooting normally. I miss 100% of the shots that I don't take. Michael Jordan, quote that.
We always had to. We've been playing since 6th through 7th grade. We started all playing together with each other. So, you know, we have our problems here, but, you know, we're still a team.
So on to the boys, a very fast-paced game. First half, Rye Gadd connects on the 3 from the top of the key. Seems like we're having a little bit of trouble to get those highlights. There we go. So on to the boys, a very fast-paced game. First half, Rye Gadd connects on the 3 from the top of the key. That makes it a 1-point game. Few minutes later, water is wet, grass is green. Shad Savage hits the 3. Now, Mountaineer fans, you should get excited. Y'all are getting a good one. Josiah Davis is the real deal. The one-hand slam, just wow. Chandler Schmidt driving. He gets fouled on the play. South continues to build their lead. Then, behind the back pass to an open Tanner Witten. He makes no mistake. It was raining 3s in South Charleston tonight. Jaden West knocks down the triple, but South still up. Second half, Witten goes for the dunk. Just a little off target, but he recovers and makes the putback. Shad Savage, state champion, signature 3 from the right corner. That makes it a double-digit lead. And then one more Josiah Davis dunk just for good measure. Next stop, Morgantown. South wins 126-122.
I mean, it's just a good ending for it. Just play one last game with a bunch of great players in the state. You know, it's just a fun game. I just really enjoyed it.
Just going out and competing with all my buddies that I've played basketball with my whole life, and just being competitive and going out there and giving them all.
Once in a lifetime chance, you know. I've enjoyed every single moment of high school basketball, even throughout COVID. Just being able to have the opportunity to play my last year, come here and play with a great athletes and win MVP is a blessing.
Meanwhile, all 3 of our local summer collegiate baseball teams were in action tonight. The West Virginia Miners playing in Terre Haute, but the Miners end their 3-game win streak, falling by a score of 13-2. The Princeton Whistle Pigs look to bounce back after falling to Pulaski, but they too lose on the road by a final of 15-5. And the Bluefield Ridge Runners finally pick up their first win on the season, beating Bristol final 4-0. And that does it for sports. We'll be right back.
Now you might be wondering why I am sitting up here instead of GeNienne. Well, this is my final show with WOAY. I came here 2 years ago with a dream, one that is quite literally listed in my elementary school yearbook right over my shoulder. I've loved meteorology for as long as I can remember, and I've never really wanted to do anything else. WOAY blessed me with this opportunity, and you all did as well. I have grown so much as a broadcaster and a meteorologist, and I hope I've taught you all a little bit in the process. I have also received nothing but kindness in these mountains. And I always tell my friends and family back home what an amazingly warm community this is. When you come to a new place, that means the most. And so thank you for writing kind emails or stopping me in the grocery store to say hi. Thank you for inviting me into your schools to educate and inform the next generation about our science. And thank you for welcoming me into your homes each and every night. It means more than you will ever know. Now, I may not be staying in the Mountain State, but I will certainly never forget my time here. I've met some of the best people here at WOAY. My colleagues have become my family. And now for one last time, for the next 7 days here in West Virginia, let's take a look at the forecast. Temperatures as we head over the next 7 days are going to be heating up. I'm leaving you guys with the heat. We're going to end up in the 80s and 90s across the area. You'll have some pop-up storms as well. Now I'll be leaving here next week to head back to New York, so it looks like I'll be driving through the heat, and I'll be leaving you guys with some real summer weather. So hopefully if you like the summer weather, that's my parting gift to you.
Thank you.
I know these two over here that have become some of my greatest colleagues and friends are really going to enjoy that summer weather. And I'm really going to miss you guys. And I see Samantha over there.
She's already crying. I'm like, please don't do
this
that.
one, we started 2 weeks apart. Back in, not even 2 weeks, 1 week apart. 1 week apart back in June of 2020, and this one started a couple months ago, and she has been a blessing to be with.
He has saved my butt many a newscast.
You guys may not realize, but a lot goes on behind the scenes.
That goes on behind the scenes,
but it's truly been a blessing.
No, for me too. Like for this to be my first full-time position and to have you on my team by my side literally saved me, and I so appreciate you and know you're going to do great things.
Oh, thank you.
You are a lifelong friend, and I don't want to cry too much on here.
I'm going to tear up too.
These sappy ones. We love him, and that does it for tonight for NewsWatch. Love you to death and wish you the best of luck.